Greetings, citizens. Welcome to our first co-op review. This time we are reviewing the new 4X game Stellaris, and Lightning Dragon is with me, of course, my bastion of common sense and overly critical thinker. Or just overly critical. And
hey, if someone's not critical enough, no one will understand or things with the stuff. Whatever, continue.
So he's put close to 70 hours into Stellaris, and with my working schedule, I've only put in about 44. But I think that's enough time now for us to go ahead and give an assessment of the game and just kind of go into it. Well, for starters, this particular game doesn't have much in the way of graphics options. You basically set screen resolution and windowed mode or not.
Full screen window mode, regular full screen. The nice thing though is you don't like the minimum settings and the maximum settings are much the same. I mean, if you have an i3 Intel, you can run this game. I think the minimum video card they recommend is like a 560, so you don't need a beast of a machine to run this. Obviously, if you have a better machine, you'll have more consistent gameplay for longer because it is a 4X game, and you will have lots of ships if you put 20 hours into a single game.
Yeah, that's true. But generally speaking, it will run on almost anything modern with like no issues whatsoever, unless you have a motherboard that's dying, like someone I know here in the voice chat.
Oh, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Then he has to go and use a different computer.
A different computer that is vastly inferior to the one I am on right now.
And it works fine on that one.
And plays it like a champ, as long as you're okay with having 200-degree temperatures next to your feet.
So
it got pretty warm towards the end.
The performance is like basically breakdown. The performance, the game runs amazingly well. Even later in the game, when you've got a lot of ships flying around, a lot of times when you play 4X games, when you get to the later stages, there is a lot of massive slowdown as more and more units are moving around. And I found that even when we had managed to share our data, and you could basically see everything in our alliance that was flying around among all the civilizations, I really wasn't feeling it. It seemed to be running just consistently across the board, and that's because the game doesn't basically go too deep into graphics. They treat everything at a very consistent, clean, but not overly done level, which is fine because a 4X game is basically a big game of chess, and you don't need to have high resolution super graphics for chess. And they leave a lot of it to the imagination in that regard. But that's perfectly fine with me. I'm more interested in the management systems, and that's what these games are. Race customization, whatever you want.
You can spend like half an hour to an hour just creating a race or multiple races. The way you things with stuff. I'm sorry, it's freaking midnight here, and I'm like going all herpy derpy. Anyway, there's certain edicts you can be like, do you want to be pacifist? Do you want to be super pacifist? And if you pick that one, it completely locks you out. What?
You get a cape for super pacifist?
Yeah, you get a cape for super pacifism. No, what it does, it locks you out of the military side. And then, like, if you're a religious race, well, you're not a very materialistic race. Like we think a lot. We want to prove things, like a scientific race. And you have these things that are like on this wheel, and you could lock them out. If you want to be super pacifist or super military, it costs twice as many points, so you are more limited, but it's double the bonuses. So instead of +5 happiness for being religious, if you're super religious, you get +10 to your happiness. And you can really kind of tailor your empire in just that kind of sense. And not to mention all the traits you have for your actual civilization, which depending on what you do, they may lean towards another way. Like you might be a militaristic, religious empire, but this planet you have that's settled really far away, maybe they don't really feel as military as you because they're so far from the home system. So they may drop from like super military to regular military, or they might just lose the militaristic trait altogether, and they're just regular religious people.
That's
and
the
so
divergence.
You have the ethnic divergence, and there's actually traits to make it so you'd stop that. And there's also buildings that improve it. And obviously, like as far as like happiness, like the happier your empire is, that's like an 80%, it's like a 10% bonus. And then if you can get your people up to a 90% happiness, you actually get a 20% bonus to like food and energy and minerals, and it's really really strong. But getting happiness up there, you really have to tailor make your race. So if you want something really crazy like that, you can go that way, or you can just be like really generalistic and just be like, I want a generally good race, or I want really long leader lifespans. That's something that I like personally, because I don't like my dudes dying, where Jarvis is like, my scientist died, another scientist died, where I'm like, my dudes are like 150 years old, and they're like, yeah, whatever, we're still living
I had
strong.
one guy die at the bold age of like 33 after I hired him for like 2 years. Like, you bastard. Yeah, so but
Meanwhile,
you get
my
leaders.
racer's long lived.
You get leaders basically in your race, or if you get the technology even from other races eventually, where they have lifespans, they gain skill levels, they have certain effects and abilities, and they will die eventually, which brings an interesting dynamic into that game. But the thing with race as well, the things that you choose, the traits and the things that you choose will also affect what governments that you can pick. Because if you're militaristic and whatnot, you know, and you're big into slavery or whatever, you're probably not going to be available to choose democracy. Okay, that's probably not going to happen. There'll be certain things that will be locked out. There'll be certain ones that are open. So,
Slaves don't vote. What are you talking about?
but you can even set it up that they can later, by when you get the technology to change the edict, and that, based on your civilization, may cause unhappiness because now you're allowing slaves to vote. There's so much. I have never seen a 4X take all the dynamics like this and flip it on its head to the extent that I've seen this one. I've been playing 4X games since
like inception.
yeah, pretty much, and I have never seen what it takes all these concepts and then says, okay, how can we change it up? Now, as far as race customization, that leads into mods, because the developers have given us the ability to not only to mod the game, but you can make your own custom races. And I don't mean just go into the thing and choose different stats. They've given us access to the full tools of how to make. You can have someone, it was an artistic, draw their own race with the animations and incorporate it into the game
as well as custom ships.
Yeah, as DLC for all the players. You know, it's like it's there on the store, not the store, but the
Steam mod workshop.
Yeah, the Steam mod workshop, and basically you can go in if someone wants to go ahead and make pink flamingos as a race. They can do
there's
it.
a robot one that's getting a lot of things. I downloaded it when it was first made, and it's like, okay, well, basically it's just giving you the visual appearance, like you are robots, and he's actually modded it more so you can pick either like the basic one, what it was, where you just get a robot skin and you're like, oh, I'm RPing as a robotic race, or you can go full bore, and he's actually made it now you can start off as basically synthetics, and so you have the different bonuses that those guys get, and then like as you upgrade like those technologies, it upgrades your empire. So like the basic robots will upgrade your empire, and then synths will upgrade your empire, or not synths, it's droids is next, and then synths, and it's a pretty big mod for, you know, only being a week old. I mean, it hasn't even been that long, has it?
Oh yeah, not even that long. And the thing is that's going to allow, over the course of time, people to come up with an infinite
Star Trek conversion.
Yeah, Star Trek conversions. I mean, whatever.
There's already a 40K mod.
There you go. I mean, people are going to come up with about anything on this. And mods, to me, in the PC gaming world is huge. I mean, that you talk about extending the life of a game, you throw mods in there. I mean, Skyrim is a perfect example. You do something like that with this, and you've got a game that's you're going to be able to make it fresh. You're going to be able to go ahead and try something entirely new 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. It's all out there for you. So big plus on that. The Galaxy customization, basically, you can choose, like, for the most part, like spiral and oval or something like that, basically.
There's four. There's the two spiral galaxies. There's like 2 arms, and then there's 4 arms. There's a ring galaxy, which is really tight and clustered. So if you want basically no room to go, or you smashing other people all the time, the ring galaxy plays completely different. And then there's the one that we always play on, which I forget the name, and it's basically like your standard map. It's very widespread, and you know.
Yeah, we were playing on a 1,000 system. This is the biggest one, but the smallest one's only like 600. So the smallest version of the Galaxy is larger than many 4X games' largest version, and it is. It's a little. It's a little. You look. You zoom out and you take a look at it, and you're like, "Whoa!" I mean, this. There is a lot of, and you can't just go along and grab every planet in the game. That's not how that works. The more things you have past your limit, the more difficulties you run into. So you have to create little subsectors and things like that. These little what's the term?
They're sectors.
Yeah, okay.
You can have vassals which you don't control. They're like a minion empire,
Yeah,
or you can like sector off areas, and that's what they're called. They're called sectors.
yeah,
And with those ones, they have their own resource pool, and you can dictate if you want you only want 25% of their resources so they can build up faster, or 50%, or up to 75%, and they will kind of upgrade over time as your technology is, but they're still technically controlled by you.
yeah.
You can still go in there and you can add on, like, I want to build a space station here. It won't show up in your list, which is kind of not good. But for the most part, a lot of the UI stuff is very, very minor.
Yeah, I
What
agree.
was one of the things?
That is one thing you need to add. Now that you mention it, but that's fine. Yeah, and yeah, you can set your conditions for them. Like you're autonomous within a certain degree. I want you to focus on energy production. I want you guys to get 50% of everything, ship 50% to us, and then basically you are still staying within your limits. So you don't get those cultural negatives, and this is how you spread out. You can keep this if you want. Just keep your core homeworld. You can find like the best planets and make that your core, and then basically hand out everything else, and then just deal with that. The
The way technology works is it directly impacts your population. The bigger your population, the longer it takes you to research something. So if you just want to be a really technologically fast race, empire or whatever, you're really only going to want to colonize a handful of planets. I mean, five probably being the extreme most, which is the standard level of planets you can control before making sectors or vassals and things. Where if you're a very, very massive empire, you're going to have to, put a lot of resources into like the outposts, the research outposts, and the planetary research stuff. There's a lot of like micromanagement stuff if you want to manage a huge empire,
right.
to basically just keep up with everybody else. You may be able to build everyone in the galaxy with the amount of ships you can make, and the resources you have coming in, but you're probably falling behind in research tech. So someone, maybe they're allied with a bunch of other people and they're a smaller empire, so their technology is actually more than yours. So you could end up going into a war where you outnumber them 2-1, but their technology is so far ahead that it doesn't matter, and you're gonna get butt whooped.
That's very true. In fact, that first game that we played, I encountered that very scenario. They had like two planets, and I had like five, and some of the sectors underneath. And I went in, and they just rolled over the top of me and beat on my homeworld like it was a drum. And that game was over. There was nothing I could do after that. But most times you're playing a 4X game, the first couple games you play, you're gonna make massive amount of mistakes. That's the nature of it. But you had talked about technology, and this is where I think the game turns every 4X convention on its head, is with the technology trees. You see, most of the games that you play out there, there's a fixed technology tree, whether it's
Like
Civilization or Master of Orion. The Master of Orion 4 is called effectively, or any of them really, and there's a set tree, and given what your government does, or given how you're playing the game, there's always certain paths that lead up to being the most efficient. And as you play the game, eventually you learn, if I need to do this, and this, and to get to this, and then after that, it's whatever.
It's a
But
formula, basically.
right, and there's always a formula for success. But with the technology trees in Stellaris, it's completely randomized. Basically, they give you three choices in the beginning of each of the three types, and you pick which one of those three you want to learn. Then go to the next one, pick which one of the next three, and so on and so forth.
You can
And
also have more than one selected depending on like your empire and certain technologies as well. So you can actually have more than just the three to pick from.
yeah, and exactly, you can get other leaders, and you can have traits where you get like 4 research, and then end up having 5. There's other technologies open up, so maybe 6 or 7 show up. That point is, though, is that you can only pick one, and so every time your research finishes, you're given a random assortment, and occasionally you get like a purple one, and a purple one is like a rare, like maybe you'll see all the hyperspace paths in the galaxy, or maybe you'll get a
Psychic
happiness center.
warriors.
Yeah, or something like that. Something will pop up occasionally that may take a long time to research, and you're going to sit there and you're going to go, "Man, do I want to do this?" Because it's going to
If you
take like
pass it up, you might not see it ever again in that game.
exactly. Exactly. But every time you play the game, that's the wild card. You see, and that's what's refreshing about this because nobody knows what technology they're going to be researching, and you don't know what your neighbor has. And you can't, even if you're playing multiplayer, you can't just trade text. I can't go down the line and get all the cruisers, and he does all this and that, and then I give him cruisers, and he gives me all this stuff, which is a common tactic a lot of times when you play 4X games with a friend. You're like, well, we'll just do research together, and we'll just trade each other off, and they've completely cut that out. Now, most you can do is basically do trade, negotiate, basically, where if they've already
Research
researched
agreement.
something, research agreement, where they've already researched something, and you get a 25% discount when you research it. And so if you happen to pick something that they've already researched, and that's as good as it gets. And I think that's great because it keeps you from just doing those weird alliances where you can kind of, in a sense, exploit the system.
I
And
like doing that, honestly. It's fun.
you like exploiting the
But
system?
I love exploiting the system because then you have this massive empire where like if you found a technology, maintaining your fleet is 25% cheaper, and you're like, hey, here, have this, and we both just build like 500 ships, and we just dog the AI, and we just completely annihilate them. Sometimes that's really enjoyable, just to, like, especially like that first game we played where you had Mr. Religious Zealots who hated everyone and they would never have peace ever. And wouldn't that have been fun to get revenge on them and just completely obliterate them and go to full
Sure.
bombing mode and just annihilate their planets, turn
But
them into toxic worlds?
but I think
But
the game would get way too easy if that was the case.
well,
And that's
yeah,
and
it's
that's
not. It's a good system, honestly. But it's like, wouldn't it be fun if?
and along with technology, when we're talking about that, there is something you pick early on with your race. Going back to the customization a little bit, there's three types of travel. You have
Ah,
warp,
yes.
you have hyperspace lanes, and you have wormhole generators. The warp is considered to be the beginning level of difficulty. The hyperspace is considered to be the intermediate, and the wormhole generator is considered to be the advanced difficulty. Uh, the warp is like Star Trek. You just pick any direction. You're not limited, but you're not limited in where you can go other than how far you can go, and it is a cooldown time before you can move again. And then you
Which
have
I think they need to adjust, to be honest. Warp travel is when you start getting the upgraded warp drives, warp 2 and warp 3, and not speeds, they're distances. They're really good, but when you come back, or like when you land in a system, like you warp from your home planet to the other planet, you just sit there and you're in a cooldown state, and someone can just fly up there and start beating on your ships, and you can't fight back. Where with the wormhole, you're pretty much, you pop out, you're ready to go, and with the hyperdrive, you can actually warp out from anywhere inside. All the other techs, you have to go outside the gravity well of the station and leave.
sure.
And
But
it really, I mean, I personally like warp better because you're not limited as really, because the wormholes, you have to have a wormhole generator and it has a limited range in the beginning, and then with the hyperdrive you have to go down lanes, kind of like a lot of traditional 4X games.
but
And
it's
so
also the
warp is good
fastest
in that
travel.
regard. It is. The hyper lanes are insanely fast, and wormhole is like the second fastest, and warp just feels, when you compare all three of them side by side, warp is just not good enough. I mean, I don't want it to be like Omega super awesome fast and all that, but it just feels like it's not quite there yet. And this game has only had 2 patches, and they were hot fix patches to make sure that people weren't crashing, as long as you don't have a ancient computer that is half dead anyway.
Right, warp should have a
That.
should have a jump cooldown, but it should let you at least move your ships around, and
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that. Now I love the wormhole generators. Now you have to set them up, and you don't have to own the system. You can just find an empty system somewhere and drop a wormhole generator in it, and then you expand your area. What I like about the wormhole travel is that. You can jump right into the heart of an enemy sector. I mean, right into their capital. You don't have to go through anything. You can ignore their defenses. You jump right in. And bearing in mind as you're playing this that these races you're dealing with, they're going to have these different types of travel methods too. So you have to account for that when you're thinking defensively. I mean, you send your entire fleet out to attack this, and then an entire fleet jumps in on yours because you didn't know that they had wormhole travel. The hyperspace lanes, while they're the fastest, they can be also the most problematic I found because I had 2 planets in the game we first played, and they were right next to each other. But the hyperspace lanes maybe take 4 jumps to go from one planet to the other. I had to go up to the north, and then I had to go to the west, and then I had to go a little bit more southwest, and then I had to go
I
south.
had one that was 7 jumps.
Yeah,
with hyper lanes when it would have been like 2 or 3 at the most if I had warp drives.
And so it's faster, but it's definitely more restrictive, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because as your technology advances, your speed on it, your ability to jump gets faster and faster and faster, so you're moving quicker. But once
It's a
again,
nightmare to chase down
it is.
you just can't catch them unless you have a similar tech, and even then you can't catch them because they can just keep running away. They've
Yeah.
always got a lead on you.
Wormhole people like to play. There's no way a hyperspace person is gonna have a good time dealing with them because they're just gonna go.
Yeah, you just warp to their home world and you just start bombing it.
And here they're getting close, and you just go to the outer ring again, and boop, and you jump all the way back to your home world and repair. And it took them like the entire time to get down there. And so, I mean, this is why you have to come up with defenses and stuff that deal with these particular factors, because not everyone's the same. And so there's also the exploration part of the game, basically, where you're going out and trying to explore different systems. Some of them are going to have like space aliens, or like crystal entity kind of things from Star Trek,
Space
or
amoebas.
space amoebas or whatever out there, and you'll need to clear them out a lot of times before you can get any research done, unless you like losing science ships. And basically, as you do research on planets, you're not only going to find out if there's minables or things like that, or if the planet's habitable or whatever. You might find random events, and these random events might be, hey, we found an old probe, for example, orbiting the planet. Would you like to go ahead and determine what it is? Oh, and and there's a chance of success or failure. And if you succeed, it goes, oh, look, we found a bunch of ancient drones that were here to mine the planet, and we can take this technology and this is like 30% complete on this or something like that. And here's some research points, and this goes into your pool. And if you fail, it might be like, oh, the mining drones come to life and they attack you, or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely one. There's one of the random events is you can run into a derelict shipyard that's half still.
That was one of the first ones I bumped into.
Yeah, I've never had the fail condition on that, but apparently the fail condition is it attacks you by spawning 3 really high-powered ships. And it's like, really? I've never had it fail. I've had it like twice, and both times I got like either one was a fail, and the other time I got like free ships. So it's like, yeah, free ships. And it's weird because there's a lot of these events that I haven't seen the fail conditions because it's
I
like
had the
this
ultimate
has a
fail.
20.
I had the Gaia planet, the one where the
that's right.
The planets that gave you 10% happiness. They became it was just a well built up world. It was a Gaia planet. The planets were euphoric, and they gave you 10% happiness, and they turned toxic. And I had to get research out there. And that just at the moment I needed this research, I needed a level 3 scientist. My scientist died, so I didn't have a level 3 scientist anymore on my science ship, and the countdown was going on. The planets went toxic, killed every living thing on the planet.
It turned into a toxic world, which is uncolonizable. Then it turned barren afterwards, right?
Oh, yeah, and I was just like, it completely destroyed my planet, and I'm like, son of a bitch. And then
extinction level event.
It started to show up in other systems of mine. And that's the thing. It's like it started to spread because I didn't catch it initially. So what I love about this is that that may sound frustrating, but I love it. To me, it's like, okay, science and exploration in space is about the unknown. And if you could just go up to something and you grab it and it works for you every time, I mean, every time you go out there and there's a percentage chance of something going wrong. That's the wild card. That's what makes it different. That's what makes the experience different for you next time you play. And everything may go well for you, or you may have everything fall apart with one bad move. And that's
like attacking an empire that doesn't believe in white peace and will only continue the war until one of you is completely annihilated.
Basically. But I'm talking about science, though. But yeah, but the whole thing is like, the science stuff is interesting. You may come across, old writings or whatever, and you can decide that, hey, we're gonna go and research these, or if you got like, for example, oh, we need to bury this information, and we'll just go ahead and you say that you take influence.
No one must know.
Yeah, or you take influence points instead, or whatever. And so there's these options that sometimes pop up if you're successful. And so, it depends on what you think is better. Some might open up missions like, there's a bunch of animals, or there's good mining spots all over the galaxy on this map, and it'll say if you choose to go ahead and pursue that, you don't have a timed mission, but you'll have like different, and they may show up in other people's empires. Like there's resources here and here and here, and then you got to deal with those empires, and you got to become friends with them or destroy them, and to get in there and to get those resources.
No, you must befriend everybody. Everyone is your friend.
So yeah, the exploration and random events system is brilliant, and I think it's fantastic, and it goes right on par with the randomness of the technology trees. Really, just kind of turning the game into something new every time you play it. Ship combat is handled with a lot of 4X games. Some of them anyway. When it comes to space, I'd like to handle it on a separate battlefield. Like you load up
Load a
something, and
different map.
yeah, and here they treat
Think of
everything.
Final Fantasy.
Well, Master of Orion.
Oh,
That's
that too. Yeah.
Master of Orion or endless. What was it?
Endless frustration. I
yeah,
mean, endless space.
endless space. We call it. I call it endless frustration so much that I forgot the actual name.
I'm surprised I remember the name.
Yeah, well,
That game is just.
yeah, well, endless space is combat. Is just basically click 3 cards and see what happens. So yeah, but that kind of thing is that what they do instead is they say, okay, we're gonna go ahead and put you on the map. I mean, you're on the normal world map and everything. Think of it like a large RTS, and you've got you click on the system, you zoom in on the system, your ships are there, and
That is the system.
and you're ordering them around, and you're telling them what to attack and whatnot, and you can click and drag to highlight everyone and see their relative strengths and damages, and there's like a little bar at the top that kind of scrolls to the left or the right, like showing who's winning, and so from that you can kind of, and battles aren't over really quick.
Victory chance.
Yeah, estimated victory chance. So from that you can kind of determine what you want to do, and so it's handled in the game like normal units moving around, no special thing going on. It's handled real time while you're fighting. Things are being researched, things are being built. Nothing is slowing down for other players. Everything's still going on. They can jump into the middle of your battle if someone wants to help you or hinder you. It's all there, so I think it's handled really well. The ship customization gives you typically, as you move up the higher ships, like 3 different parts that you can choose from, or multiple parts you can choose from on the 3 different parts. Like some will have bigger weapons, some will have a lot of smaller weapons. So you can basically set your ship up to carry what you want, and then kind of go from there.
So when you're building a ship, I'm assuming you're going to have some video to go with this, but you have individual pieces of the ship. Yeah, individual pieces of the ship as you get higher in the sizes. Like the basic corvettes, you can pick like 3 different types, and like one is like 3 small weapons, one's like 1 small weapon, 1 medium weapon, and I don't know what the last one is. It might not be a last one. And then when you get to destroyers, you'll have 2 different modules you can change. One has different things, and then from then on up you have 3 different pieces. And if you like, for example, point defense weapons can only go into small ones, even though they say P. You think there's a P thing they go into, but no, they just go in small slots. I actually had to find that out on a video where it's like, he's using point defense. What? Oh, they go in small parts. Okay, so if you want like point defense, you want to make sure you have some small weapon hard points on there. Or if you get there's a certain railgun technology that there's only a large variant, so if you want to use that gun, which is really, really powerful, you have to build a ship that is nothing but large. Or if you want to mix it, you can have like 2 large and then like 3 small for point defense if you're having a lot of trouble with a missile-based empire.
Yeah, and you mix and match your defenses too. I mean, you can have armor, you can have shields. You have to mix and match depending upon what your weapons are and what you put in defenses. How many maybe energy cores you're gonna need to have on your ship. So all this stuff lets you really load out the ship in a very different way than somebody else, and kind of come up with something that's going to work for your strategy. And so yeah, there's a lot of customization there. That's very cool. And of course, once again, going back to mods, you wouldn't be surprised to eventually see someone come up with like a Star Trek variant. You've got basically, here's all the nacelles, here's the saucer, here's the whatever, and you can see someone like making their own Star Trek ships out of it or whatever. Or the Borg will be easy. He's like, here's a cube, and here's a cube, and here's a cube.
Power.
Yeah.
Well, they have spheres and cubes.
Oh yeah, maybe you have a spear sticking out of a cube. Anyway, so. This last part here we're talking about is that basically, well, not the last part, but as you get further into the game, there can be endgame events that basically happen in the universe that can be extinction level events that threaten everybody. Go ahead, Lightning. Talk about it a little bit.
So there's 3 current major end event categories, and we've actually haven't played long enough in a single game to get them. Part of it is because I'd have to play on a different computer, and also we got to the point in our second game, which was more successful, where we were playing more peaceful, and it's like, okay, well, unless we want to just kill, yeah, I mean, we were liberating like the super warmonger dudes, and they're like, oh, thank you for liberating us, we love you, and they took on like pacifism and xenophobe, not xenophobe, the xenophil or whatever, where they like other aliens, yeah, and it's like, oh, I don't want to kill these guys now, so it's like I think this game is kind of done unless you want to go warmonger. But if you get like really late game stuff, one of them is if you research synthetic AI, because there's 3 levels of that. There's the robots, there's the droid, and there's synthetics. And synthetics will get pretty pissed off if you treat them like slaves or as robots. And they'll rebel and uprise and stuff. And there's a chance that they will basically create their own homeworld, and they get massive, huge bonuses to mineral production and research production, and it doesn't cost them anything to maintain their fleet. Yeah, basically that's what happens, and think of it on a galactic scale, because if you don't smash their homeworld, they will snowball faster and harder than anything, and they will challenge even the fallen empires, which even in our game we put like 20 plus hours into that multiplayer game, and the fallen empires were still overpowering compared to our relative strength, and we were pretty strong. One of them, and another one is like Cthulhu Empire kind of thing. There's this which I think is kind of bugged right now, unfortunately, but there's this this evil overmind creature, brood mother, that I don't know how else to describe it, that will spawn and she summons these extremely powerful, kind of like that, yeah, these extremely powerful like alien bio ships, and when they colonize a planet, it obliterates all the population and makes it an inhospitable world, and the only way to get them out of there is to literally bomb the planet into the Stone Ages. It's the only way. You can't send ground troops there, and the only way to win it is to like capture the queen. I think it's kind of bugged at the moment. That's what a lot of people are saying, so that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's literally the Zerg. That's what it sounds like.
It's pretty much, yeah. It's kind of like Cthulhu Monster meets the Zerg Empire. And the last one is like the Davidians from Star Trek. I don't remember which technology unlocks it, but there's a type of hyper travel where you basically rip a hole through space-time, and it's huge distances you can travel, like half the galaxy in a single jump. But if you do that, like, I don't know if it's every time you jump or after you unlock it, there's a chance that you'll spawn these energy aliens. And I forget
from another
what they're
dimension.
called. Yeah, from another dimension, and they're strong enough to challenge the fallen empires as well. And you don't jump on them; they snowball. And what it is,
the weak shall perish.
They all spawn from like a certain area, and you have to capture it. I think it's one of the weaker of the Endgame Events scenarios. But I mean, again, we haven't even got to that thing. I mean, I'd love to cause the downfall of the entire galaxy by, bringing robots away from simple intelligence and making them synthetic creatures, just so I can watch Jarrus flip his shit when it's annihilated by a big robotic empire, and I just sit back and don't tell him what's going on. But we haven't.
He will do that too.
Got that far. I will. I would totally do it. I'd be like, yes, secretly. I'd mute the microphone and go, "Yay, robot empire!" And then I would just cancel all of our trade deals so he can't see what my empire sees, and then just not say anything, and then just wait and watch the magic as this robot life, the Reapers, take over the galaxy.
So you got Reapers, the
Reapers?
Reapers.
Not that kind of robots.
Reapers, the Zerg, and basically, what is that race in Star Trek? The guys.
It's the Davidians.
The Davidians. I thought Davidians. I
think it was the Davidians.
I don't know.
The little energy dudes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking the guys from the fluidic space.
Oh, the Undyne.
The Undyne, right?
Or species 8472.
8472, right? They basically, the Borg drill into an alternate dimension, and they pour through dimensional portholes, and basically they're more powerful than anything. So yeah, that's basically your 3 kind of end game scenarios you can walk into. All right, and we want to quickly discuss diplomacy. Diplomacy is kind of a make or break sometimes in 4X games. And I find that diplomacy in this game is refreshing because a lot of times in games where you make alliances with somebody, you end up going to war with somebody else. And what's great about this is that even if someone doesn't really like you, if they look at you and see that you have like the same power or this or something pretty similar, they won't just jump on you.
Traits.
Yeah, so well, yeah, traits as an effect. But I mean, like if they look at your empire strength, it's like, oh, they're equivalent. They're not going to just be as willing to just jump on you and attack you. So you can actually have a more successful peace playing game if you want that way. If you really want that way, you can go that way very successfully. And I'm impressed by that because a lot of 4X games, I said, they punish you. They really punish you for trying to go that route. Let's use Master of Orion 4 for an example. I've been trying to play a very peaceful game, and I was working with the Terrans and one other race, and I basically was being contacted more by the other race, and the Terrans, who started off as friendly, ended up being at war with me, not because I had done anything to them, but just because I was talking to these other people. And I don't like getting caught in situations like that. Now, it does make sense that sometimes that would happen, but that would depend upon the society structure of that particular culture. Like if they're xenophobic or they're hyper religious and they hate you because you're dealing with someone else who's hyper religious or whatever. I mean, that kind of makes sense, but I never liked the random, we're going to war because reasons.
We hate you because you live next to us.
Right.
That's the thing I've seen in so many 4X games. If someone is next to you on your border, don't even bother trying to be friends with them because they're eventually just going to try and kill you. And that doesn't happen in Stellaris. I mean,
No.
I've been next to people that utterly hate me, but they wouldn't go to war with me because either A, I had a very high fleet strength, or B, I was in an alliance and they just get fucked up by the other members of the alliance.
Yeah, and as I said, that to me is one of the strongest diplomacy systems. I think it needs a little bit more fleshing out because sometimes it feels like I'm not exactly sure what I can do with them at a given point in time. But you have to kind of raise your base reputation up. Like you could do it by establishing an embassy and maybe trade like charts and things like that. Some mostly just simple things. You get up to a certain point, and maybe they'll start listening to you. Like, okay, let's maybe do technology or
if you
resources.
rival one of their rivals, they really like that. That's how I
Yeah.
ended up getting into the alliance in our second game.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, fuck these dudes. They're rivaling me. I'm going to rival them back. They're like, oh, we see you hate these other guys. I was trying not to do that in the Glognoid voice. It's like,
yeah.
you hate these guys. We also hate these guys. It's very human of you to hate these guys.
And and you set rivals too, that gives you more influence, which can be used to help expand your empire as well. So I mean, it's a risk reward scenario. You might just rival somebody just because, hey, I want more influence, I'm rivaling you, which is like kind of a weird way to do it.
You had to do that at one point because it's kind of like, I don't have any influence. Oh, you always can rival someone, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you rival somebody from across the galaxy. You can't get anywhere next to you. I rival you.
The distance matters. You get less influence the farther away they are. But
it's safer. Anyway, guys,
I just need 0.5 extra influence.
Yeah. Well, it's a diplomacy system. I think it's good. I think it's solid. I think it's nice to see a game that doesn't punish you for trying to go the peaceful route, and it's refreshing overall. And the last part we want to talk about is the multiplayer. We've put well over 20 hours into multiplayer, and it is a very smooth experience. Quill18 did a video where they even had up to 22 people playing on a multiplayer game, and it looked, I mean, to have that many people play on a 4X game is just awesome. And it was, to me...
I believe it can go higher as well. I think like 38 is the max they support.
Oh my goodness. It's insane.
It's like 38 years, and they said that it can support more, but it starts like desyncing. So I think they've actually capped it. So they obviously tested with more than 30 other some odd players.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you guys could have people in your guild just all pick this game up. You all play together. I mean, that's nuts.
And there's a hot joining too, so an AI will take over your empire. So if you have to I have to leave for like an hour or so, don't murder my empire, and you come back later and you just pick up right where you left off, or better actually, depending on how well the AI played it.
Or someone wants to join your game, they can jump to the shoes of an AI and play that. So yeah, the hot joining is awesome. Overall, the multiplayer, I really can't complain about it. In fact, if someone disconnects, it'll go, okay, so-and-so disconnected, do you want to save the game? What do you want to do? Do you want to quit? Do you want to go ahead and then you can re-invite them. They choose the race they were playing. They jump right back in, which we're very versed with because Lightning's
Because of my,
motherboards.
my
Yeah,
lovely issues I'm having with my
yeah,
processor.
yeah. I'd have to re-invite him sometimes every like 5 minutes. To be like,
Oh,
okay, we're
it
done
gets
for the
bad
night.
sometime.
But
Yeah,
that's his computer. That's his computer, not the game.
yeah, it's definitely the computer.
Yeah, we're working on that issue, so that's still to come. We're gonna get him up and running. So anyway, overall, it's kind of a final thoughts on this here. I think this is so cool to see a resurgence. We've got resurgence of flight games like the space and otherwise. We've got resurgence of these 4X games. I think really coming like the classics, like Master of Orion, and then something like this that takes all the conventions and just flips it on its head and goes, here it is. It's randomized. It's balanced. It's just amazing. You can with every sense of the word. This game to me. Not including, including space and ground, might be, in my opinion, one of the greatest 4X games I have ever played since I've been playing 4X games. I think I'm going to enjoy this way more than any Civilization game that I played, way more than, for a sense of long-term games, Master of Orion. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Master of Orion. I think what's in there is great, but what they've done here, to me, this game is absolutely, if you're a 4X player, a must-buy game. What do you think, Lightning?
Besides some of the little, like, I guess, teething issues it has, because it's only had 2 patches and they're hot fixes. I mean, there's a couple little UI things that they could touch up and make better. I mean, I'm not talking about, like, this is terrible UI. No, the UI is good. It's just, like, there's a lot of, like, extra clicking sometimes, or it's like, just show this. There's one of the screens, like your Empire Management screen. It's like, why can't I just build things from the Empire Management screen? And just, like, what's the term they use for this? Like,
Consolidation?
No, it's like a life thing. I forget what it is. It's like convenience, whatever.
Oh, yeah,
Quality of life. Quality
Okay.
of life patches. You
Right.
know, that's what it really needs right now. Besides, obviously, like, things that are broken right now, which they're working on. I mean, that's why we've had the 2 hot fixes right away, and now the next big patch is going to be fixing certain events that spawn. Like, there's a couple events that, like, I destroyed this asteroid, and then, obviously the asteroid's gone. It's not going to crash into your planet, but the logbook still says you've killed 0 of 1 asteroid. It's like, but I did kill the asteroid. And
so those are just general bugs for the most part.
yeah, just little teeny bugs. I mean, other than the little bugs, I mean, most of them, they don't even end your game. I mean, it's just kind of like, oh, well, this is kind of annoying. I mean, besides, like, the super endgame event where if you spawn the Cthulhu Zerg horde and you can't actually, capture the broodmother or whatever, then yeah, their game's pretty much over at that. But I mean, you got to put 20 to 30 or even 40 hours into a game to even get to that event. So, oh gee, I've enjoyed this game for the last 25 hours. Oh darn, it's over. And you just make a new one. You take the stuff you learned from that game, you build a better race of spiders, and then you conquer the galaxy by enslaving everyone in your path. Oh wait, no, you friends. It's a friendly game. You don't go to war with anybody.
Don't run. We are your friends. So
Zog noise.
So do you think they should? Is it a purchase for them? Do you think? You think they should just check it out? It's running at 91% on Steam right now, which is pretty damn good.
I mean, me personally, I think it's great. I spent a little bit extra with the pre-order thing to get some of the little pictures, which don't even fucking matter. But it's kind of like after watching
the music's great.
Yeah, the music is awesome.
It does come with a soundtrack with that, and the music.
Yeah.
And we didn't touch on this, but the music is fantastic. I can just sit and listen to this music. It is amazing. It is just fantastic. So it adds a lot to the atmosphere. So overall,
definitely good.
If Lightning recommends that you buy a game, then that says volumes for it, because I've seen him.
There's plenty of games I'm like, this game is utter shit. Don't even fucking touch it. It's awful.
Yeah,
it's only worth like $1.
He will hate games that I still play. I'm like, rah, 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 rah.
Yeah,
and so if he likes it after putting much time in, that says a lot. So, the thing is that we recommend it, and I think it's, like I said, one of the best 4X games across all genres I've seen in more than a decade. And yeah, that's basically our review. I don't give hard numbers here. I just recommend buying it.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Well, we're gonna steal. We're gonna get copyright for thumbsing upping things like for Siskel and Ebert probably.
Screw
Um,
them.
yeah,
Half of them are
exactly.
dead.
I think all of them are dead.
Oh wow,
Anyway,
there you go. Shocker, I didn't even know that.
anyway, guys, thanks for listening to our first co-op review, and I hope you found this to have enough information to make an informed choice. Leave comments down below, and if you have any suggestions for any future reviews, and we'll do what we can. All right, guys, thanks for listening.
Stay safe out there. No space spider empires. They'll enslave you all.
We'll see lightning.
The death of me!
Anyway, we're talking about this week the Control Plus Vanguard controversy. Now, that sounds like a weird term, but it's a term that's been coined now in the Vanguard ship forums.